And I put my arm around him as a mentor, and he's like choking back tears. And he said, my coach said I had an amazing jab. I don't understand this. I said, Johnny, you do have an amazing jab. I said, what you haven't been doing is sparring with guys who don't give a shit about your jab. And so I could say, well, boxing sucks then. And you follow what I'm doing? I'm making this ridiculous generalization because some guy who nobody knows got punched out by some guy who nobody knows. So I'm this well-known martial artist. So who gives a shit about my opinion? At the end of the day, it's your coach. I know people who defend themselves against serial rapists, attempted murderers, who pick up a coffee mug or an ashtray and smack it in somebody's face, who claw some serial killer most wanted on the FBI list, sticks a finger in somebody. Those people are the real fighters. And they don't have a kung fu background. What they have is will and indignation to not be a victim.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's that mindset, Mike, and that's what we do. I mean, you can't train with us if you don't go through our combat psychology training or psychobehavior or fear management block, because I'm not interested in the complex motor skills. There's statistically, there are more people who defend themselves with no training than there ever will be trained people who get attacked and successfully defend themselves. So to come back to your question, what's the best system? I think that Mike Tyson studying Tai Chi would have been a devastating street fighter. You know what I mean? It's like you got somebody who is territorial, will protect themselves, protect their family, isn't afraid to fight. They'll make ballet work. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the day, all styles have something to offer. What some are missing is some contact drill that helps stress inoculate people. What some are missing is understanding the proxemics of a real fight, how it impacts the emotional psychological system first before the physical system. So that's the area where I feel our company excels. As we do the most research, we're continually doing research on that, and that's the missing link. You can look at two boxers or two MMA guys, and fights are won and lost in the gym and how they train. They're not won and lost the night of the fight. We have I don't personally do this stuff. I mean, there's no affirmation or chant or meditation that I do. I think life is that. Life presents that with you. Alan Watts, famous philosopher, said if you can't meditate in the boiler room, you can't just meditate. Mm-hmm. Meaning that there's always going to be distraction noise around you. And if you have to go into a pristine area and everyone's got to be quiet so you can get into some Zen mode, well, that's not really going to serve you. In the real world, because the real world is far from quiet, and that's a metaphor. It's emotionally, psychologically, physically violent at times, and so because I teach. I mean, there was a time that I would teach 280 days a year. I mean, I was on the road nonstop, so I'm always teaching the psychology and the mindset and the fear management. I mean, all of my courses. Even a short one-day course has 4 or 5 hours of the psychology and mindset in it. And so, hey, Nick, throw me a water, please, babe. Thanks. And or don't throw me a water because it smashes the computer and it knocks me out. Wouldn't that be funny? I get knocked out.
I'd get a million hits for sure.
Yeah. So here, let me pimp this water here. My guys are gonna love this. Aqua Hydrate. You can see it on Michael Joyce's show, and you can see it on Entourage. You watch Entourage?
No.
Who's our boy? Yeah, it's big water. Aqua Hydrate. Boys are gonna love it. It's supposed to be the best water in the world for athletes.
Awesome.
So. So we do have a bunch of DVDs. We have an audio tape called Cerebral Self Defense. We got a manual called Be Your Own Bodyguard, and it goes over all this stuff because you're reading a manual. How does that empower you? I mean, there's stuff in there on psychology of fear, on awareness, on we wrote called the 10 Commandments of self defense, just things to think about. And I had people who live by that shit. I mean, I have cops who sit in their car and I'll get an email going, "Hey, I wore out that tape. Send me another one." I mean, it's their inner coach, and they listen to that stuff. I think for me personally, because I conceptualized a lot of the stuff. I researched a lot of the stuff. It's just, I press play and it comes out. Other people need to go, wow. They have more of the epiphany moment where I'm going, well, that was obvious. That's why I wrote it on the whiteboard. But we do have, material to supplement or augment other trainers. If you've got no experience, we've got stuff to jump in, and even if you're a 100th degree black belt, we do stuff like our biggest customers, military and law enforcement. Then I'll go in and I'll say, look, day one, I know you're adrenaline junkies. I know you've got crazy fear management skills. You jump out of an airplane at 20,000 feet. You kick down a door and charge a threat. But it doesn't mean you know everything about behavior, physiology, kinesiology, how emotional, psychological distractions can override complex motor skill, and how that might bite you in the ass in a real fight.
Right.
So to me, it could be a confrontation or ATM, or it could be something in some austere environment in parts unknown for a soldier. At that moment, that fight's this close, and the fight's the fight, and you got to take care of business. No one's looking at your badge or your flag, or whether you're a 50-year-old woman or a 22-year-old, college student. The fight's on. I would tell you this, and this blows people's minds: if you only had 4 hours to train and you were going to take off to Europe or through New York City or some other city where we know there's violent attacks on tourists walking, I would tell you only to study the emotional, psychological, no physical, because I believe, and it's what I said earlier, there are people statistically, police records, statistics, there are people who defend themselves with no training whatsoever through sheer will and indignation. So if you learn a little bit about awareness, what do bad guys look for? What do they want? What do they not want? If you learn how to devalue yourself, I don't know, did you ever see my ATM video on the CrossFit website?
No, not yet, no.
You need to check that out. So I'm going to pimp that right here. So go to CrossFit.com, that's my favorite workout modality for just athlete core fitness, CrossFit, and go to their on the left side nav is a exercises and demos link, and they've got a ton of videos, and all their videos, but they have a combative section, and it's me and John Hackelman. I don't know if you're familiar with John Hackelman. He's Chuck Liddell's trainer.
Okay.
So John and I are kind of the combatives gurus for the CrossFit community, and if you go, there's an ATM video, and I show this, what do you do at an ATM? And people are expecting, okay, here's going to come a spinning hook kick, and here's going to be a flying side kick, and there's absolutely no physical violence in there. It's understanding the psychology, the psychodynamics, and how to devalue yourself as a target in a fight. And it's I get more hits and more questions and more comments about that, because now everybody who really doesn't want to fight goes, oh my God, that's a strategy that I can apply. I don't have to go get a black belt. I don't have to grapple. I don't have to punch anything. I can just understand, the mindset of that type of predator. So the truth is that if somebody really wanted less violence versus more violence, understanding what bad guys want, what good guys need to do to avert that, how do you devalue yourself, how do you devalue your property in the timeline of the threat and the scenario. And then, of course, there are times we talk about the 3 Ds: detect, diffuse, defend, detect and avoid, defuse and de-escalate. But if push comes to shove, you got to be your own bodyguard. How do you do that?